Hello, my name is Jeffrey West. Today we will be investigating two different communication theories presented by Geert Hofstede and Edward T. Hall. These theories both try to explain how culture affects human behavior and communication. The four dimensions from Hofstede's theory that I decided to cover are individualism versus collectivism, power distance, uncertainty avoidance, and masculinity versus femininity in the United States. The US is highly individualistic. People are expected to focus on personal achievement and self-reliance. Promotions are often based on individual achievements rather than seniority or team loyalty. The US has a low power distance. Leaders are seen as approachable, and equality is expected in communication. Personally, I feel comfortable asking a manager questions directly, which might not be the case in cultures with high power distance. Take, for example, Russia, where the managers or directors have clear authority and are expected to make the final decisions. Americans have moderate uncertainty avoidance. We accept some risk and ambiguity in projects, which encourages creativity. For example, in a startup project with unclear instructions, I found the freedom surprisingly motivating rather than stressful. And I think this is how Silicon Valley is so prolific these days. The US leans towards masculinity, meaning competitiveness and achievement are emphasized. I noticed this in sports and school when winning and success are celebrated and rewarded. Looking at Edward Hall's theory of high and low context communication. High context cultures rely on relationships, shared understanding, and nonverbal cues. Low context cultures rely on explicit, direct communication. The United States is considered a low context society in Edward Hall's communication theory. This means most communication in the United States is direct and explicit. It relies heavily on spoken and written words rather than unspoken cues or shared background knowledge. For example, in the US, a manager might say, "This report needs to be finished by Friday at 3 p.m. The expectation is clear and literal. In a high context society like Japan, the manager might say, "We're hoping to review that report before the weekend." The expectation is subtle and polite. I chose an article from the MIT course catalog, and this article describes how the internet has transformed sperm donation from a private doctor-arranged process into a large consumer-driven online marketplace. It opens with the story of a couple who used a sperm bank website to carefully select an anonymous donor based on education and physical traits. After multiple attempts and several $1,000s in expense, they successfully had twin daughters, showing how the web can make the process more accessible and personalized. This piece explains that online sperm cells have become a booming business with millions of dollars spent annually in the United States. Major sperm banks receive thousands of daily website visits, and customers can now search nationwide for donors who match specific preferences such as ethnicity, appearance, and education. However, the article also raises concerns about regulation and accuracy. While medical testing for diseases is state-regulated, much of the personal information donors provide cannot be fully verified, leaving consumers to rely on the honesty of donors and the reputation of the sperm banks. Ethical experts warn that genetics are not guaranteed predictors of child's future traits. Overall, the article shows how technology has commercialized sperm donation, making it easier and more mainstream while also introducing new ethical and reliability concerns. The article is important to me because it shows how technology and the internet change personal decisions, social norms, and consumer behavior. Family creation, donor selection, and non-traditional parenting have become more visible and accepted. Understanding these shifts can help us better interpret modern culture and diversity in family structures. Conclusion and review. To review, we explored four of Hofstede's dimensions: individualism, low power distance, moderate uncertainty avoidance, and masculinity in the United States. We also looked at Hall's high and low context theory, where the United States is generally a low context society. Lastly, I connected these concepts to insights from an MIT course article. Understanding these frameworks help us communicate more effectively across cultures, whether at work, in school, or while traveling abroad. So the next time you interact with someone from a different culture, think about values, communication style, and the context. They can completely change how your message is received. Thank you.